When you think about heaven, what pops into your head? Is it just kind of this vague, floaty, spiritual idea? Or is it something more solid? Today, we're going to dig into a sermon that makes a pretty bold argument for a specific physical place it calls the third heaven. It's presented as God's literal, divine headquarters. So let's dive in and really unpack this idea.
All right, here's our roadmap. First, we're going to look at the location itself. What and where is this home of God? Then, we'll talk about the God who lives there. After that, we'll see how he supposedly rules from this place, what makes it so pure, and, maybe most importantly, who actually gets in. And finally, we'll see how it all connects back to us, as the source of everything.
You know, this whole teaching really boils down to one simple but huge question. Where does God actually live? A lot of people would say, well, God is everywhere, right? But this sermon challenges that idea head-on and offers up a much more specific, almost localized answer. And here's where we see the two big ideas clash. On one side, you have the common concept of an omnipresent God, a spirit that exists everywhere and in everything, all at once. But this sermon says, hold on, and argues that God actually has a specific address, a physical home base called the third heaven.
So, okay, if God has a specific home, what's he actually like in that home? Well, the sermon goes on to describe a being who is just fundamentally different from us humans, living in a state that is entirely his own.
The picture that gets painted here is one of total power and really total separation. I mean, think about what this is saying. He alone is immortal, and he lives in a light that's so intense, it's not just bright, it's physically unapproachable. You literally can't get near it, and no human can see him.
And this quote really hammers that point home. It's not just that he's far away, according to this view. It's that his very being, his nature, is on a completely different level that makes him inherently invisible to us.
But there's one huge exception to this unseen God rule. The teaching says that because Jesus came from that place, from the third heaven, he's the only one who has ever actually seen God the Father. And because of that, he's the only one who can truly reveal him to the rest of the world.
So this place, the third heaven, it's not just a house. It's not a retirement home in the sky. According to this sermon, it's an active command center. It's the very spot from which the entire universe is run. And look at how this is laid out. It's like the ultimate chain of command. The process is super direct and absolute. God speaks a word from his throne, and everything in creation, whether you can see it or not, just snaps to attention. His will gets done on earth, period.
So what kind of commands are we talking about? Well, according to the sermon, basically everything. The whole idea is that nothing just happens. Whether it's an ant finding its food, a plague of locusts appearing, a storm rolling in, or the ice melting, it's all presented as the direct result of a specific order given from the third heaven. All right, so what's this place actually like? The sermon doesn't just call it the third heaven. It gives it a bunch of different names, and each one tells us a little something more about what it's all about.
You see all these names on the screen, and when you put them all together, a really clear picture starts to form. You've got the city of the living God, the heavenly Jerusalem, the most holy place. It all points to a place of perfect order, absolute law, and sacred holiness. It's not just a home, it's like a divine capital city.
Okay, so if a place is this holy, this pure, you've got to wonder who gets in. There have to be some pretty strict rules at the door, right? And that's the next big question the sermon tackles.
And the standard for entry is, well, it's absolute. It's a clean line. As you can see, nothing impure, nothing shameful, no liars, no sinners, nobody with any of that can get in. But check this out. The sermon takes it a step further. It says even the memory of past sins is completely barred from this place. It's a state of total absolute purity, and it's only for the righteous.
So you might be thinking, how does this faraway, super holy place have anything to do with life down here on earth? Well, the final point of the sermon is that the third heaven isn't just a place we might go someday, it's an active source right now for things believers need.
And this is a really key takeaway. The big idea here is that things like true wisdom and real strength, they don't just bubble up from inside you. In this teaching, they're gifts that flow directly from God's throne, from the third heaven, down to people on earth.
And that really brings us to the sermon's final point. God is the ultimate self-sufficient source of everything. He's the teacher who doesn't need to be taught,
the giver who doesn't need anything in return. From this perspective, every good thing has one single starting point: God's throne in the third heaven.
So after all that, we're left with this one big question to chew on. If you really started to see heaven this way, not just as a fuzzy concept, but as a real command center, a physical home for God, how would that actually change things for you? How would that view shape your daily life, your faith, or even just how you see the world working around you?